Om Lokaha Samastaha Sukhino Bhavantu. May all beings be happy and peaceful. Hey, what's up, everyone? It's Phoenix here. Welcome to my channel. The big question on everyone's mind, has Bitcoin seen the bottom yet? We just surpassed 19K, which a few months ago would have sounded pretty dismal, but today sounds not half bad considering we were just at about $16,000 about a week ago. And we're going to look at some signs, some potential early signs that may be indicating that accumulation is underway. So I want to show you a few charts here. Let's dive in. Here we have Exhibit A, created for another video about the bear market. Of course, that's all there is to talk about these days. But you can see the comparison between the various bear markets. We have 427 days at present. Feels like a lot longer, doesn't it? And then we had 511 days in 2018 and 700 days in 2015. Now I marked these out on the chart here, and you could see that April 7th would be the earliest, according to these, that it could break free from accumulation, which actually is only a couple of months away. And in that case, it would mean that we are currently in accumulation and the bottom is likely already in, if that were following along with the 2018 bear market. But as we know, the macro conditions are very different than they were in 2018, okay? And all markets have been taking a massive hit. And so we have that downward momentum to our disadvantage here. Now, looking at the EMAs, I've mentioned time and time again, they need to start losing their slope and gradually starting to flatten out. And then eventually you'll start to see the price break free, break above. They'll no longer hold as resistance. Now, we're actually getting the first sign of that here. Bitcoin just crossed the threshold beyond 19K and wicked off of this 21 EMA. And the last time we even came close to the 21 EMA was in March of last year. So this is not a sign, necessarily a bullish sign, but it is a sign that accumulation is, if it's not already underway, that it is around the corner. Now, the big question on everyone's mind is, well, was this the bottom here, 15,489? It is possible, and I'd like to pull up the Wyckoff accumulation schematic here. Let me just clean up this chart for you so that we can have a nice clear image to work with. So this is the Wyckoff, one of the Wyckoff accumulation schematics. Now, I've broken this down in previous videos, but just briefly, this is the last point of support. This is the selling climax. So this is actually what's most important. But the selling climax does not necessarily mean that it's the bottom. Sometimes, according to this schematic, there were several secondary tests, and this here spring even came down even lower, and there was a quick reaction off of these levels, but the spring was actually the bottom in this case. So it is possible that this was the selling climax. If we check and we see there was high volume leading into this and around that period, and you can see that down here. And then we had the automatic reaction. Wasn't a very strong one, but it was a strong enough reaction. And so it's establishing a range. So there's a possibility that this could be the accumulation range that we have entered. Now, you don't really know this until it starts to unfold, which it has been doing nicely for us. So if we mark this as our major range, well, what does this look like to you? You can see that this right here, let me mark this as a secondary test. Now notice here the high volume again lead around this. There's a lot of activity around this drop here down to the low. So it's possible that this was the first secondary test. Now, what's giving this more strength? There's a reason I held off to share this with you all, is because now what we're seeing is a nice big deviation outside of beneath this range. It failed to break down. Okay, we had that first initial retest and then it came down, but then it failed to break down and now we're back inside. And typically what you see with ranges, whether it's on the 5-minute or the 1 hour, I've been covering this in my lives, you'll see 8 out of 10 times, if it breaks back inside and holds, then it's likely headed back to the top of the range. And if that happens for Bitcoin, then there's a much higher probability that this actually is accumulation. And the 12K figure that I initially believed would happen is not going to happen. And so this is something that we need to really consider here, because especially now, especially what we saw today, this one daily candle is actually very significant to the cryptocurrency market, and it's holding so far. We did cross here. There's going to be initially some resistance, but it's likely going to come back down if it can find support above like 17,700, 17,800, starts to consolidate and starts to push back up again. Then that's going to be a strong, it's going to be strongly in favor of accumulation. But I want you to keep in mind here that even if this is accumulation, this is not necessarily the bottom here, because as we see in this accumulation chart, this was the secondary test, but the spring actually came beneath the secondary test. And these are tests of the demand at these lower levels, and they will quickly push the price back up. So what we're looking for at this stage in the bear market, it needs to get pretty boring. It needs to start to chop around in a very clearly defined range with some deviations above and below. So for instance, what would give it even more credibility, this rally here, is if it actually did come, retest, found support, breaks back above, and even comes up slightly higher, maybe comes all the way up 25, 26K before getting back inside, and then starts to come down again. That's going to give a lot more strength to this sort of a schematic for the accumulation. But then that also does not rule out the possibility that it comes down and then comes down to run the stops down here, and then you get your spring here. Okay, so this level here could turn into, it could deviate again below here and then get back inside and come back. Now, if I see this pattern play out, then I would say absolutely, beyond a shadow of a doubt, the bottom is in for Bitcoin. But it's still too soon to tell. So I want to be realistic with you all, and I want to be cautiously optimistic. And this is actually the first time in this bear market that I would say that there is a favorable probability of more upside in the near future, in the very near future. But now, if, on the other hand, let's play devil's advocate here, if this happens to be a local top and it ultimately finds resistance here at 18,850, and it starts to come back down, gets back under here, we get that over under, then most likely headed down to here at minimum, and then maybe we'll break down from there. That's definitely possible. And especially if you consider that the dollar index is forming a local bottom at around 10, 101, 102, and the S&P 500 also seems to be coming to resistance, and we'll see if it can break through there. And we know that there's a strong correlation between Bitcoin and the stock market, especially the S&P 500. So to summarize, there are several signs of a potential bottom for Bitcoin at 15,500. But we need to be patient and see how it unfolds, because there could be more tests that drive the price down lower. It might only go slightly lower before bouncing back up. And what we want to see is a violent reaction from the lows. If we don't get a violent reaction and the price continues to falter down near the lows, then in that case, we have to reevaluate. And it's a constant shifting dynamic. So now if we take a look at this Wall Street cheat sheet, psychology of a market cycle, where are we now? Well, we're beyond panic, okay? And we're beyond this sort of anger, I feel. And it's sort of in the depressing phase. Doesn't it feel like that to you, just by going off the sentiment on crypto Twitter? And then there's the disbelief. We haven't yet gotten into the disbelief yet, but you kind of have to catch yourself, even for myself as a trader, having to quickly pivot when the market starts to reverse or go counter the trend, which has been down. The disbelief every time there's a rally, like this is probably going to end soon. But then what we just saw with Bitcoin, it literally just ripped right through some very strong resistance today. But then if you take a look in the larger scheme of things, this is a very small, insignificant move. Until we see continued momentum to the upside, we don't have a whole lot in favor of the end of the bear market. So it's going to take time. It's going to, at minimum, take several months. But if this is an early sign that accumulation is underway, then this is very promising for Bitcoin and all the other cryptocurrencies. So the mantra here, as always, be patient, wait for more candles to print. It might take many weeks, many months. We need to see more data. We need to see how the market reacts when there is a bump like this one. Is it quickly sold off? Does it start to consolidate? Does it find support? Now that we're back inside this major range here, is it going to push all the way back up to the top yet? All of these are giving us a comprehensive picture of where the market wants to go next. So pay close attention. And thank you, of course, for those of you that have stood this out and been here. You're going to be the ones that are rewarded. I can't give you a sticker or a lollipop, but you're going to be making the most money in the next bull run. So congratulations. And thank you for watching my video. If there are other videos that you want me to cover in a similar vein, please feel free to let me know down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this content, I have a whole lot more for you. You can find it on my website. There's many links down in the description. Of course, if you want to join C3 and you want more detailed analyses about these various charts, then all you need to do is either buy one of my courses or sign up under MEXC using my referral link and send me an email or a DM and let me know, and I will get you an invite link. So have a beautiful rest of your day.